I got some super chats. Andre says, they're valid questions, but when you have the worst O-line, cornerback, and wide receiver groups in the league, you have to make some of those riskier moves. Veteran leadership matters, like I just mentioned. And then Andre adds, also money was spent to see if Levis is the guy. And I think we're absolutely clear that Andre is dead on with both of those comments right there. Now, Brandon brings this up that I thought was interesting. They brought up good points. The problem with their take is that Tennessee has no one to re-sign until 2026. So where's the money going to go? And I saw several like Chris and Pistol and others. And they're like, who else were the Titans going to sign? Right. And they had like the second most cap space in the NFL this past offseason, and the cap goes up $30 million. Who else are they going to spend money on? But they address their best or their weakest positions with Cheeto, Snead, Ridley, Cushenberry. Right. And then Tony Pollard to come in to replace Derrick Henry and to go along with Tajay Spears makes a lot of sense. And then Robert Mays said towards the end of that first clip that we played a couple times is that he thinks that this offseason spending could hinder them 2 to 3 years down the road. That's where I disagree, because the cap is going to continue to climb, right? It's going to keep on going up. We know that. Will Levis is cheap through 2026's season. When they extend him before the 2026 season, they will extend him for that contract to start in 2027. They'll pay him a ton of money in signing bonus that summer, but it won't affect his base salary until 2027, which is when a lot of these contracts they just signed are expiring. And so now you're setting, and I actually like what the Titans are doing. They're setting up 2 windows back to back. They're setting up the Will Levis rookie contract window. Then they're setting up for that window to close and Will Levis big contract window to open. And so what they have to do for Will Levis big contract window to open and stay open, draft well. You have to hit this year's draft, next year's draft, and the 2026 draft. They all have to hit so that Will Levis big contract window is complemented by rookie contracts. Because right now they're complementing Will Levis's rookie contract with big veteran leadership contracts. So I actually think it's really smart for a 6-year plan. And guess what? If Will Levis isn't the guy, then now you just get rid of him, find yourself another rookie quarterback contract that you're going to continue to ride that window and find veteran players to complement that until you hit on the quarterback and pay him big money. So really you can say they've set up 2 windows and potentially have an audible for a third route.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. They're making it comfortable for whoever slots into that quarterback spot. If it's Levis, fantastic. If it's another guy, that's all right too, because the weapons around him, the offensive line, the coaching staff, the running backs and Pollard and Spears, all of these are geared to helping the quarterback perform at a high level. So if Levis can't do it, that's all right. Draft a quarterback in the first round, start over, you get cheap at quarterback again, and you've got plenty of weapons to help him out and help him grow and potentially, jump through that window and make some noise in the playoffs down the road. So I like it.
Jeff says, so rinse and repeat. Who's that sound like? The Bears or the Colts, right? Like the Colts did it horribly because they kept trying to patchwork together Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, and then until they went with Anthony Richardson, and you're trying to do that too. So that's the game. The whole NFL is rinse and repeat. The entire NFL, rinse and repeat, because that's how you do it. That's how you play the game. Until you find your quarterback, you rinse and repeat.
And wouldn't you rather know an answer on your guy, good or bad, rather than still kind of be iffy on a guy and hand out a contract like the Jaguars, like the Giants did with Daniel Jones?
Yes. And then and once you find your quarterback, you stick with your quarterback and you rinse and repeat other positions, like what the Chiefs are doing. The Chiefs have Mahomes. They're rinsing and repeating at wide receiver and at cornerback. They're doing that same thing. And so, yes, that's what everybody's doing that doesn't have a quarterback. Because why wouldn't you? Why are you hating on a team for rinsing and repeat a quarterback until they get one? Would you rather than stick with a crappy one and be stubborn?
Thing. Why go into a marriage if you're going to wake up half the season hating the guy, right? Why tie yourself to that quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, who threw 14 picks last year? You wake up half the season on Monday being like, damn, man, I'm getting sick and tired of watching Trevor Lawrence throw games away. Like, I want an answer, good or bad. If Will Levis is terrible, that's better than him just being iffy, right? If Will Levis is great, obviously that's the best case scenario. But you need an answer on him one way or another. And the Titans have done everything in their power to set themselves up to get an answer this season.
Ken says, when you have your quarterback, everyone is expendable. Nearly everyone is expendable. Not everyone. Nearly everyone is expendable because Travis Kelce and Chris Jones are not expendable for the Chiefs, right? Like Jeffrey Simmons, not expendable. Like they're all obviously players, but Ken's point overall, you're on with that. Another couple comments I wanted to get to here. Anthony says they're not wrong though. Teams win in the trenches, and O-line, D-line, linebackers are terrible. Safety still a position of need that needs an upgrade. Tight ends still in question as well. Well, we'll get to this in a second because King VC comes back and says, my only problem is that if a big name team like the Cowboys were to do this, they'd be praised, right? Because the Cowboys were dumped on. The Cowboys were dumped on by not spending money in free agency, and so the Titans are being dumped on for spending money in free agency. So
and all the guys that they hit on, like Ridley, Snead, Cushenberry, like all of those dudes, even maybe Pollard, even all considered top 5 players in the free agency pool at their position, right? I mean, so if you're a team who needs,
Ridley was number 1. Ridley was the number 1 receiver. Cushenberry was the number 1 center. Snead would have been a number 1. Jalen Johnson with the Bears. I mean, he didn't hit free agency, right? Like, so neither did Snead technically. So there's some nuance to go there, but yes. And then Pollard,
if not 1, 2. Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Pollard was right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have these needs, you have to address them. And whether or not you agree with the contract they handed out doesn't really matter, because when you have to play the free agency game, you're overpaying for everybody. But the Titans are in a position where, hell, I mean, it's either overpay or have your quarterback murdered again, or continue to win 6 games a year. So they're making an effort to get better immediately, and that's why Titans fans are excited. That's why we have over 300 people watching a show in the middle of June talking about the Titans, because there is an excitement within this fan base from the moves they made this offseason.
Yep, without a doubt. All right, going back to Anthony's comment, it says they're not wrong. Teams win in the trenches, and O-line and D-line linebackers are terrible. Safety still position you need to upgrade, and tight end still question mark. So the back half of that, safety and tight end. I think we're learning that unless you have an elite player at those 2 positions, then a lot of them are rotational and expendable too, because there's a lot of safeties on the open market that have not been signed yet. So I think the NFL is telling us a very interesting message about how the veteran safety is viewed by a lot of these guys not having places to play right now. And then for tight ends are a question mark, yes, but I think you look at what Cincinnati had with tight ends under Zach Taylor and Brian Callahan running that offense. CJ Uzomah was the best guy. It was a good player. And I thought that Uzomah could have been a free agent, a target for the Titans in the last couple of years before he went to the Jets. But who's the Bengals tight end last year?
Sample? Was it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Drew Sample or something, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Miss Tyler Eifert. Where's Tyler Eifert right now? Where in the world is Tyler Eifert? That's your new Matt Lauer.
Probably nursing an elbow injury. And then to Anthony's first part, teams win the trenches. O-line, D-line, linebackers are terrible. So linebackers we'll talk about here in a second. O-line, D-line. You've got Jeff. You've got Cushenberry to anchor those units, and you're investing in draft capital because that's the right way to build the offensive line. So let's continue to build this show, Jack, and ask everybody here. Because the Titans offseason has been very good. I think all of us watching, maybe minus Big Ten Jeff Rubel, think the Titans have had a very good, successful offseason. Jeff might agree that the Titans have had a successful offseason. Even if Robert Mays and Connor Orr disagree and think it was disgusting in how they spent money and that it's going to hinder them multiple years down the road. They have not had a perfect offseason. It's been very good, successful, but not perfect. So let's ask everybody here, which Titans offseason move is concerning you the most? So look, here's Jeff. I said they were good signings. So Jeff is on this side of things, even as a Colts fan who lives in Orlando, who also roots for Ohio State watching the show.